What do you think he has prepared?
I think he's just it's gonna be a lot of waving, a lot of smiling, a lot of like the same sort of Alvin Bragg is a horrible person. The judge is a horrible person. All you people are horrible people. New York City loves me, despite the fact that here's my prediction. There's not going to be a lot of pro-Trump protesters.
No.
I mean, I think there could be like 20.
Right, like it's funny that it seems like the disparity between security and actual turnout is going to be wild. Like, I think Midtown Manhattan is going to be like Fort Knox essentially for like 20 protesters.
Well, honestly,
they're going to pretend like, the reason why no protesters showed up because they were afraid of the police presence.
If they were smart, they'd hire some crisis actors for the situation.
I've told them all to stay home.
Yeah,
that's why they didn't show up. They listened to me.
They left me.
Here is Trump's attorney, Jim Trusty.
I mean, it's in the name, buddy.
On Fox's Shannon Bream's show yesterday. And Trump has been going off on Truth Social, I guess, about the judge in his Manhattan case. Do you remember like when one of the first cases that was like overturned, I think, with some of his immigration policies, and he said, we can't trust it because the judge is Mexican.
Yes.
Or Mexican descent or whatever it was.
He's biased.
He's
unlike
back
the white
to this.
judges, they have no bias.
I mean, I think the theory about this is to get into the judge's mind, right? Because then the judge is like, am I doing this because I really resent Trump, or am I doing this because this is the case? I mean, I imagine it's not ultimately going to impact the judge, but I could see why Trump would think that it might. Here is Jim Trusty.
To do.
President has had quite a bit to say, including this post from Friday. I'll read in part talking about the judge overseeing this case. He says, the judge assigned to my witch hunt case, a case that has never been charged before, hates me. A lot of that's in all caps. He goes on to say, that's the same person who railroaded my 75-year-old former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, to take a plea deal. He strong-armed Alan, which a judge is not allowed to do, and treated my companies, which didn't plead, viciously appealing. So a couple things to break down there. First of all, I'm an attorney.
Pause it. Let's just start with like viciously appealing. What does that mean? That's what I wish they start with. Like, what does that mean? Like, is he really trying to say appalling?
That's what I was curious about. Is it appalling, or is he saying he's going to appeal the decision, but it hasn't even happened yet?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, preemptive appeal, like a preemptive pardon.
I never saw his avatar for on his Truth Social.
It's so over the top.
My God. He's also doing now mime, too, is my understanding.
Judge is not allowed to do, and treated my companies, which didn't plead, viciously appealing. So a couple things to break down there. First of all, I'm an attorney. If my client posted that and was facing that judge, wouldn't make my job any easier. Does it worry you?
Well, look, the president's a big believer in free speech, as you know. He's got strong opinions. I think he's very frustrated for some of his very loyal employees being caught up in the machinery of a persecution. And so he feels strongly about it.
Well, I'm sure that will help with the judge.
Yeah. I mean, do we know what Alan Weisselberg said about Trump? Do we know that when he took a plea deal that he did not reveal any information to prosecutors? Maybe Mr. Trusty here might be changing his tune once he hears what Weisselberg had to sing in his song. That's just a guess.
I'm against free speech in that situation.
Also, gotta say...
Stop talking, Alan.
I know. Alan, gag order. Yeah. Why do all of Trump's attorneys... I saw another one of his attorneys on a talk show on Sunday. They all look like mob guys.
Well, I'll tell you something. I know some defense attorneys in some very big defense firms. And apparently the Trump people went out to all of them. And
I don't doubt
there was only a limited amount left. And look, I don't know, but it doesn't seem uncommon to characterize the lawyers in that way.
Maybe that's
so
how...
Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Roy Cohn connection. Anyway.
Speaking of Roy Cohn, here is Bill Barr, former AG, on whether what he would do if President Trump was his client in terms of putting him on the stand to testify.
I'll ask you what I asked Jim Trusty as well. If the president was your client, would you put him on the stand? Because I got to imagine in any of these cases, if it gets to trial, he's going to want to defend himself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not his lawyer. Generally, I think it's a bad idea to go on the stand, and I think it's particularly a bad idea for Trump because he lacks all self-control, and it'd be very difficult to prepare him and keep him testifying in a prudent fashion.
Okay, let me ask you about this back and forth.
I wonder if he's laughing, thinking about how often he defended all the horrible stuff that he did.
He literally said, "I would vote for him in 2024 if he's the nominee."
Of course
Thank you, thank you, Bill Barr.
Of course he would.
I'm not Trump's personal attorney anymore.
I'm not Trump's personal attorney, although when I was just vying for the job of AG, I wrote a 6-page memo on why he shouldn't be subject to any type of legal implications. We're going to take a break in just a moment. Douglas Rushkoff is going to join us. He's professor of media studies at Queens College, author of Survival of the Richest, Escape Fantasies of the Tech Billionaires, which has, I mean, we're all just waiting around for Twitter to fall apart right now. And apparently the only person who's lost their blue check is not even a person. It's just the New York Times.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll ask Rushkoff about this because I'm sure he has some thoughts about this. But I'm just sort of, it's just amazing. When I did that PBD podcast, they asked me about Elon Musk. And you got to appreciate the new things he's come in and done on Twitter. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Which thing?
I mean, we appreciate it from a content perspective, but
there's no new products he's rolling out. He's just showing that he fundamentally doesn't understand how people use Twitter or why. Like the idea that like everybody's going to get a badge. That's not the point. The point is to know that who it is that you're talking to. But whatever, we'll talk to Rushkoff about that.